The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show. It's brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. Dan, Michael, and Moscow White with you for the weekly show. A quick reminder that you can get TSB Plus, our membership package, where you get the dedicated podcast feed with all of our podcasts ad-free and bonus stuff each week as well, extra shows for you. We've been running the Butter Cup alongside the FA Cup this season because we know that Leeds United always crash out of the cup competition at the third round stage. So we're maintaining the interest. It's head-to-head loanees, and it's getting to we're at the quarter-final stage.
Oh, it's getting very exciting. We've not yet decided the neutral venues, have we, for the semis?
No.
We'll that's still. I think we're not going to go for the same venue as the final.
No,
because that ruined it, I think, for me. So we'll find some proper neutral venues.
Excellent. And Butter is the sponsor that we unilaterally applied to that cup because it was a nice play on words. The Butter people have no actual affiliation.
And it was a building on the Milk Cup.
Yeah.
Of past, wasn't it? So it's developed.
Yeah.
It's curdled.
Exactly.
It's a perfect description for it. We've had Moscow who's been doing the draws, Phil who's been doing the ties, Phil Hay coming on. So if you want more Phil Hay, come and find him over there. Anyway, you get that. Discounts on the merchandise, loads of stuff on there, plenty of benefits at thesquareball.net/plus. Part one of the show is about the news then. Let's wrap up what has been going on in Leeds United world. Relegation Watch.
Yeah, I did put this as a heading. It's probably going to have to be a feature, isn't it, until the end of the season, because we are now at that stage, having had a year off, essentially last year, of having to frantically look at every other result. I'm kind of now in that space again, where you're going, oh well, if Watford get a point in that, and then Burnley win that,
I toyed with the idea of a spreadsheet.
Well, I did one the other week just to look at whose games were left and what have you. But it's not been a disastrous weekend, has it?
No, I mean, the one thing to take out of it is that whilst we are sitting very, very precariously, we have games, hopefully, that we can win coming up. We'll preview Villa in the next part as well.
Newcastle looks to be out of it now. I think Moscow's claim that they wouldn't win another game this season has not gone brilliantly. I think they've won more or less every match since you said that.
I've got a mate who's a Newcastle fan who saw the post-Newcastle show when you made that bold prediction, and he texts me every week to say, remind that mate of yours on that show. I was like, he wasn't being serious. Oh, were you?
I didn't think they'd do this well, but just goes to show what money can do, which is a shame. Nobody should celebrate their success.
Great, they might,
including Newcastle fans.
Yeah, exactly. Don't enjoy any of this if you've got any kind of soul whatsoever.
So yeah, we reckon what?
And Chris Wood still hasn't scored.
No,
that is true. So
really, very tiny victory.
That's the real quiz.
Wow.
35 points then, do we reckon, does it this season? Because that's been enough on a 10-year rolling average. You've worked this out.
I was looking back. This is where my mind goes now on an evening. I just think, I'm just going to have a look at the last few seasons. 35 is the 10-year average, but it has been declining in recent years. I think because now Man City and Liverpool win every game they ever play, as do most of the top six. It is meaning that the points needed for survival is tending to shrink. I think 35 would definitely see us safe this year. So if we're going to actually aim for something,
that's 12 points on top of where we are now.
We can do that, can't we?
Yeah, it's only 4 wins.
How many have we had this season?
Or it's 12 draws.
We've only got 11 games.
Well, that won't do then, will it?
We could draw 11 draws would probably see us safe. It'd be a weird way to do it, though. I'd rather we just won some matches.
I know we've only had 5 wins all season, but you look at the remaining fixtures and can't help but think, if we can't win 3 of those and get some draws, we probably do deserve to go down. We should be able to get 4 wins out of it. I think we've got the ability within that squad. They just need to find it again and just #believe.
If Marsh carries on the way the Leicester game sort of set things out, we'll have more chance of winning if we're not 3-0 down by half time, won't we? So and even if we don't win, I suppose it's the one thing Leeds have had this year under Bielsa that we didn't have previously, was that we were drawing a lot more, which has not been very useful up to now. But in the situation that we're in, you'd probably welcome some of the defeats we've had being draws.
Yeah.
And we are more likely to be able to draw our way through this with a tighter defence than as we had for that 1 week.
Yes. I mean, 11 games left, 3 wins, leaves 8 games that you can't afford to get hammered in. So you are talking...
Well, we can afford to get hammered because, goal difference is what it is now. I don't think we're going to save that necessarily. But so if we lose, we lose. It doesn't matter if we lose by 6 or 10 or 12 or 1. We didn't get anything from Leicester for not being beaten 10-0. So it's the results that are important now. It's how many wins and draws we can get. And if we lose by 7 twice, doesn't matter.
What will be really helpful in this week coming up is, and we don't obviously want Brentford to pull away, but if it's picking the lesser of two evils, Brentford to beat Burnley, we win this week. And then we see the other bottom two losing also, because like Norwich are at Chelsea, have got Chelsea, sorry. And then Watford travel to Wolves, which you'd expect to go the way you'd expect them to go, wouldn't you? You can't necessarily...
Wolves-Watford will be a fucking dire game.
Yeah.
I'm stand to be corrected when it's 3-3, but I think that's going to be two teams aiming to win 1-0, and it'll be dead boring. Well, Wolves will be aiming to win 1-0, and Watford will be aiming to draw 0-0.
Then round to the weekend, Everton, Wolves, and Southampton versus Watford. So not easy to predict. Those two games going on alongside our game as well when we play Norwich. So it could be a nervy affair. I think the way I look at it is if we can beat Watford and Norwich, it gives ourselves a real chance, because then you've only really got to worry about one other team, haven't you? And given what happened to Everton last night at Spurs, you would hope that despite their games in hand, they don't manage to pull either too far clear of us or
do we feel sorry?
Level
do we feel sorry for Frank Lampard?
Not really, no.
But
no.
He's come into such a bad situation.
We don't need to do this
fix
again.
it then, shouldn't we?
We did this on the match ball.
No,
so
but just reflecting on it, I just think it's so sad for him.
Not the match ball and propaganda, sorry.
Because he's such a good bloke and a good manager.
The key thing with both Everton and Burnley is that they both have games that have still not been rearranged. So there's still matches on their fixture list, including one against each other, where
they can't both win.
Well, they can't both win, but they don't even know when they're going to play them. And so the games in hand that teams like Burnley and Everton are sort of trying to present as their get out of jail tickets are also things that could end up damaging them when they're having to play 4 games in a week just to try and get these things done.
I was going to say, like, the time that's left in the season causes a real problem for Everton, doesn't it? Because we've got an international break coming up. They've still got 14 games to play. Yeah, it is going to be every 3 days, isn't it?
And the other one, I mean, they're kind of screwing themselves by one of that Boreham Wood game and also Brentford, which are apart from Leeds, Lampard's 2 big wins. Have kind of screwed them because it means now they have to play Crystal Palace in the quarterfinals when they should be playing Watford. So Watford is postponed and to be arranged. They're playing Leicester, and that still has not been arranged. And then they're away to Burnley, and that is another one that, as far as I'm aware, does not have a date yet. So
what we're saying is,
good luck, lads.
We've done it right. We're fine. Nothing to worry about. Is that the takeaway from this? Are we just trying to convince ourselves here?
No, it's definitely a benefit, and you can, especially with a new manager, because Marsh needs the time to be telling his players what to do, and being able to do that during the week is a benefit. Whereas, the only thing I can think of is that the last time Everton spend with Frank Lampard on the training field, the better, because they don't seem to be responding to anything he's telling them so far. But just going game with no time in between is not a good way to be handling your running. We will at least have some time to prepare. I mean, Dean Smith is having a proper whinge and has been for weeks about the fact that Norwich are playing Chelsea on Thursday and then us on Sunday. But I mean, we're playing Villa on Thursday and them on Sunday. So I don't know what difference it is apart from the fact that we're better and we'll beat them. So it's just... I think there's plenty for us to be okay, and then we can just laugh at which one of these losers goes down. Norwich are gone. Norwich are absolutely an absolute catastrophe.
Tim Krul was talking it up. I saw the other day, was saying, it's a tough ask at this stage, but we've got the games left to do. It's like, and then you look back and you think, well, yeah, but you do. They need probably 5 wins. Yeah, and they've got 4 all season, and they managed 5 in a full season last time they were in the Premier League.
The key quotes from Dean Smith after losing 3-1 to Brentford was, we felt Brentford was a side we could catch. And then he banging on about the refereeing. And then he's complaining about we'll get hardly any coaching to go into the game against Leeds, who are a team only 6 points ahead of us. And then Tim Krul, after the 3-1 defeat to Brentford, came out looking forward to the Chelsea match on Thursday night. When you beat a team like Chelsea, maybe that's the bit of spark everyone needs.
You think?
It would. I mean, I would send Norwich. I think the city would explode if they beat Chelsea. It would be absolutely extraordinary. But I mean, Chelsea turned up to Burnley on Saturday, played through the first half as if they just didn't want to be there. And then half time, I don't know what Tuchel said to them, but I assume it was something along the lines of try. And within 10 minutes, they were 2-0 up. With 20 minutes of the restart, 4-0 up. It was Tarkowski with an absolutely brilliant assist for their fourth goal. Just laid it on the plate for them. So all they had to do was just like slog through the first half and then go, look, lads, it'll be worse if you don't win this. So just go and beat them. All right, yeah, 10 minutes work, turn it in, and then go home. So they can do that to Norwich.
Do you know what I'd really like to happen from now? Is to win 3 games on the trot.
Yeah, that'd just sort it out, wouldn't it?
It would. Just put the season to bed and we all go, thank God for that.
The nice thing from the weekend was that in the Brentford-Norwich game, both of them looked quite shit. Brentford needed 2 penalties to win that game, and Norwich can't finish, can't defend.
And even Brentford
neither could we
scored against Norwich. The other way around, so Norwich scored against Brentford, so Thomas Frank and his, it's nearly a clean sheet. Didn't happen. And then they had another one ruled out for offside, I think it was. VAR cross one off as well. So even though Brentford have changed it to get Eriksen in, they've gone 4 at the back instead of 3 at the back to stop leaking goals, and it gets Canos can attack now because he's been playing as a wing back. So it's all that's going to be good for them. But if Norwich can score against Norwich are absolutely chronic going forward. They scored 16. I think it's 17 now because they got that goal against Brentford and then put another one in that was ruled out. So if they can't even stop Norwich from scoring, what hope do Brentford have against anybody else that they're playing?
It feels like you're tempting fate off.
Going down that Newcastle path.
I mean, I don't think Newcastle will win another game. I mean, it gets more difficult from here for them.
All joking aside, and looking at it as it is, and while it looks a little bit precarious now, do you think we're going to stay up? Obviously, Michael, you don't. Moscow, you do.
I think we might, to be honest.
Yeah.
We should. This week, we'll come on to the previews, but this week is where
it has the potential to be tight and unpleasant, for want of a better phrase, but it could finish like that. Equally, we could just sort it out.
We could also have a disastrous end to the season, get another 5 points and stay up because everyone else is crap, which is the option that I've almost not considered. But it is quite possible. If you look at points per game and stuff that floating around at the moment, there's an expectation that everyone picks up towards the end of the season. But if they don't...
Yeah. The turnaround in form that it would need for Norwich is just, I think it's way, way beyond them. Watford are a bit funny. They did score twice against Arsenal, and apparently they didn't play too badly. Roy is being very strange down there. I don't think he likes any of the players or the fans. Every post-match interview I see with him, there was one the other week, they scored, a couple of the players scored, and he said, well, it's good to know that they can score, actually, isn't it?
That didn't sound like him.
We'll go down again. No, that's not it. That's Zippy or Bungle or George or one of them.
One of the characters from child's TV programme Rainbow.
We'll go down again, school. No, that's not right, is it? I don't know.
And he was, well,
I enjoyed it anyway, so thank you.
To bail you out of this, he was also, his substitutions were being booed at the weekend, and afterwards he's saying, well, we have a problem here that the fans have their favourites, but I think that other players can do a better job than them, and it's also, none of it's really harmonious. There's not that Jesse Marsh kind of like group huggle. Everybody's in this together. We're all going to, unite in positive thinking and step by step together. It's all very much Roy saying, I'm going to keep this club up, whether you like it or not, you bastards. And then I am getting out of here. To punish you,
I'll stay another season.
Yeah, exactly.
No one stays.
What do you make of
2 seasons at Watford?
What do you make of all the touchy-feely stuff? Do you think they probably need it after?
Jesse's doing.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. If we lose games and he does it, everyone thinks it's laughable, don't they? And it's an American pile of shit. Whereas if we win games, everyone's like, fine, good fun. Everyone, maybe it is a togetherness that they all need.
It's definitely different from the last guy. And then I think it's one of those things where when you change the manager, you just go in the other direction. I think it's kind of becoming clear what they've tried to change with the sacking is to keep elements of the football and just tweak Bielsa's style and move it on to Rangnick's. But then to completely change the atmosphere around the other stuff and the way that they kind of work in training. It was kind of awkward at his press conference with people sort of saying, how are you going to lift the intensity here? And him saying, well, obviously I can't lift the intensity, but I want to keep the intensity but achieve it in a different way.
The intensity is the problem, guys.
So it's and it's going to be interesting to see how we can achieve that, because he must be thinking, well, I can reduce or change the way we train but still achieve the outputs that Bielsa had these players running to. But then when you look at all those graphs that for 4 years we've been just loving whenever they show like sprints or effort for a Leeds team, and the rest of European football is like over here clumped around the axis, and then Leeds United are just somewhere they have to extend the graph. It's like you have to fold out a piece of paper to, right, well, Leeds are over here, miles away from everywhere else. So whether that's purely Bielsa, but then the other aspect of that, and I think this would be something he was kind of getting at too, is whether you need all that. Do you need to be that far in excess of everybody else? It's sprinting and effort and training and stuff. Would it be fine to be on the same sheet of paper as everybody else, but still be outrunning them? Yeah. So those are the changes he's kind of coming in. And yeah, if he achieves it with, I'm not sure the Leicester Hoggle quite had the effect, mainly because he'd just irretrievably broken Tyler Roberts, and none of the players seemed to know what was going on. Stuart, I think Meslier had to go and get Stuart Dallas, didn't you? So like, don't applaud the fans. You have to come and do this, and then you could applaud the fans. And then there was a lot of players, fans have their own opinions of Tyler Roberts, but he still seems to be very popular within the squad. And there was a lot of players going on to like, are you all right? What the hell? And then they had to go in this huddle and I don't know what it must be like to have a ruptured hamstring tendon.
Sounds bad.
Yeah, and it sounds like it'll hurt. And certainly Roberts had looked in considerable pain. So you've got the new manager there trying to deliver his message like, this is great, we can build on this. I really love everybody's effort. And then you're probably looking at your mate who you've been working with for 4 years thinking, we think Tyler might need an ambulance. Like, this is all very nice, but he's crying. So Tyler. I'm not sure it quite had the cut through that it might have done otherwise.
It'll all fall into place, won't it, in terms of how he wants to operate. Well, they'll soon pick up on the cues, won't they, the players and stuff like that. And like you said, ultimately it'll be judged on the outcome of the season, won't it?
His first press conference, which we should probably talk about, because that has happened since we last spoke about him. I thought he was very good with it. I thought he covered off the stuff he needed to address some of the difficult aspects of him being American, and I feel like he has killed off a lot of the talk of Ted Lasso and stuff as a result of just addressing it straight away.
Not if you read.
Oh, I know, but
that's going to be tried in the same way that Bielsa, when he's not speaking English, this is going to be soccer coach, all that kind of,
which he doesn't say. Which was, I think I mentioned on the match ball, that it was one report was, he could say that, but he doesn't. So what are we even talking about here?
Yeah, I'm determined to shoehorn this joke into my writing.
Yeah, I'd already written this, and then he went the opposite way, so I'll just talk about that and still just use all the same material.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the young,
he owned it well, didn't he?
The young men were good as well. I enjoyed all the talk about young men.
He loves his young men.
Although it does just remind you of YMCA, doesn't it? When you start hearing that.
I like it because
yes, you're hearing it in your head now. I realise,
because I think he'd refer to me as a young man if he met me as well, which would please me greatly. Thanks, Jesse.
Rodrigo, an intelligent young man. He's one of the oldest players in the squad.
Nigel Worthington is an intelligent young man.
Yeah, I suppose the only thing about it is it too slick, because that's the thing with Bielsa. Felt very authentic in absolutely everything. There was no attempt to play the game, no attempt to kind of hide who he is. Whereas having the Ted Lasso material, I think it's made the reputation of American coaches worse. Having all that stuff ready is a little bit that you wonder, is this genuinely him, or is this his press conference face, which is not unusual in the rest of football, but I think we've got to remember, or just there's a lot of lag with Leeds fans where we've had such an unusual experience in terms of football that now when you've just got somebody doing normal football stuff and doing normal football press conferences, although he does bang on. I know that's rich coming from me, but the comparison, because when Bielsa's press conferences, and he used to get so much nonsense for this, because everyone's like, oh, he just drones on and he goes through that interpreter and what's he even talking about and none of it's relevant. But when it came to injuries, he'd just say, you know, Patrick Bamford, no, we don't know when he'll be back. We're waiting to see how it evolves. I'm hoping Calvin at the start of March, but we think it's been set back, and it will be quite clear. And then because it was translated, he would speak slowly and quite simply. And he did have one thing where he would say he would say everything twice to reinforce the point. So he would say it again to make sure you got it, which is, you know, I just did it exactly then. So that's what he used to do. Marsh just talks and talks and talks. When you actually trim down Bielsa's press conferences into the things he said, it would generally, if it was a 45-minute press conference, it would be about 20 minutes of actual Bielsa words. Marsh, because he's just speaking English, 45 minutes of Marsh is 45 minutes of Marsh. And there was a lot in this.
In fairness, that was his first one.
And then his post-match was a lot as well. There's a lot of words, and it's not change.
Do you think he's gone into it's like the job interview and he's just babbling nervously?
I think it's just him. I think it's and that's, so it's not really critical. It's just how he is, because he does a lot of podcasts and interviews and stuff, and he's you know, he loves the talk. He's got all that stuff ready, and so I think there's going to be a bombardment of it, and so it's a difference. It's a change.
And you hate him.
I think it's fine. He seems dead nice, really, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does seem like a nice bloke. I just hope that we don't completely destroy him.
I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? It's all, this talk is all fine before games have been played and lost, but 6 games in, no wins on the board. People are going, why is he fucking talking still? I'm sick of the sight of him. I'm sick of hearing him. I'm sick of his voice. I'm sick of his face. I hate his glasses. I hate his jeans.
It does, doesn't it? Everything becomes a problem when the results turn, because it is ultimately it's a results business.
You saw it with Marcelo Bielsa, who has done more for this football club in the last 20 years. And then there's almost, I mean, this is straying almost back into why did we sack him territory, but if the fixtures hadn't fallen how they were, he might still have been in a job. If the Liverpool game had been played when it was originally, and it would have been off the back of the Arsenal game, we probably would have got through that and gone, okay, 2 bad results. And then if you'd had the spread between the scum 4-2 and then Spurs 4-0, and then you look at how Spurs then just absolutely battered Everton as well. There's ways that without that Liverpool game in the middle, we could have negotiated the Bielsa situation and stuck with him. But because of that mad week, that's what did for him, and he couldn't withstand. So even our greatest manager of the last 20 years could not withstand 3 bad results, terrible results in a week. Marsh doesn't have that kind of benefit, and that's where the kind of the press conference persona kind of fits in, because with Bielsa, you knew whatever you were getting was authentically him. We were used to him for a while, and realised that he's not presenting anything other than really who he is. Whereas with Marsh, there's still that kind of suspicion of how much of this kind of very coached speak is real.
Yeah, it's about authenticity, isn't it?
Yeah. How is that going to...
people latch onto it even on an unconscious level.
Yeah, and it helped when you did lose games and Bielsa was there and Bielsa was Bielsa, you're fine with it. When another coach loses games, you're a little bit more tuned for what's the messaging here. Whereas Bielsa, there was never any messaging with Bielsa. It was always just like, this is my fault. I will go away and I will sort it. I don't even want to be here speaking about this. I think that's where the huddle thing kind of comes in as well, because we don't know well, there's only the clips from Marseille where you see what Bielsa was like in the dressing room. He would never do that in public, because whatever he is saying to the players is really nobody's business. That's why he wouldn't do open training sessions, because he said, if I let the press watch the training sessions, they're not going to watch my training. They're going to watch what the players are doing and how they're responding, and get gossip and write stories about, if somebody has an, because there was the big incident, he lost a tooth in a training session in South America, and everybody's writing about Bielsa's got no teeth, and it was all madness. It was like, I won't let you into any of that because you'll misinterpret it. Whereas the huddle on the pitch, immediately everyone's talking about it and we're all looking at it and we're all misinterpreting it and we're all looking for our own spin on it and things like that. So I'm not sure of the wisdom of doing that kind of thing.
But there's been quite a lot of that, just generally, like that presenting a United front, like Radrizzani's surfaced again, wanting to kind of front this one out, when actually we could have done with him being around, fronting it out when things were not going great, you know.
Yeah, there was never actually a video like, I will back the coach, I believe in him. There was never those. I suppose he did do that.
But you can't, can you? Because that's the dreaded vote of confidence.
He did one of those, but people normally do them.
Yeah, that's
why
true.
they're dreaded. He did do that conference. He was at a conference where he said, no, I believe Coach Bielsa will take us into next season and everything will be fine and we won't go down. It was interesting that Peter Lowy was visible at Leicester as well, part of the 49ers enterprises, because he was there at the Spurs game and then went quiet while Radrizzani came out and said, everything has been my decision, I own all this. And then he turns up again at Leicester in the background saying, what? Don't know.
Wrapping stuff up then from the other teams, the 23s finally had a game. They played Spurs.
Had two in a week. Greedy. Yes, draw with Spurs, and then
the strangely get a draw against Mansfield in the Premier League Cup. Get a draw to progress. Confuses my brain in so many ways. There's three things.
Group stage.
Yeah,
it's a group stage.
There's three things in there that have confused my tiny brain. But I don't follow all the ins and outs of the Premier League Cup, and it's.
It was a very young side we had out in that. There were no recognised first team people in there. There was no Cresswell or Gelhardt or Greenwood or anyone.
How dare you disrespect Jack Jenkins and Stuart McKinstry?
That is very true. There was no one that people want in the first team.
There was Matteo Joseph. I think people would be quite keen for our big January striker signing. We got better as that game went on. It started quite rough, but we got a new manager there as well. It's kind of interesting to see whether how the changes in the first team kind of filter down to whether the under 23s and under 18s have all been playing sort of Bielsa's football. Did they all now adapt?
Together they tried going zonally at Spurs, didn't they? By the looks of it, so they got straight on that. But we'll see how it goes, won't we? Hopefully they can stay up. That's the 23s, and on to the women who lost 6-2 at Newcastle, meaning
sack the manager.
Dearie me,
is that what you want?
No, not at all.
Jesse Marsh could take charge of both teams.
I mean, they are third in the league, in fairness, which is not all that bad. But only one team goes up, and they can't realistically do that anymore.
They're 15 points off the top, aren't they, at the minute? 4-0 down inside 36 minutes, and Newcastle lost 6-2, so they did rally around. There was no Preston turnaround, but yes, so it looks like that one is done and dusted. Although it's been a good season for them, a disrupted season at that, because the weather's not helped.
Another one. I mean, when you look at their league table, I think there's teams that have played, some that have played 12 and some that have played 17. I think it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah,
still.
You can tell who has a decent pitch, basically, who has somewhere to play.
Are you saying the underwater pitch that the Leeds lady women play on is not suitable?
Them poor Tadcaster, they need some solution there, don't they? Just divert the river, for God's sake. But
drainage, tried not being on a floodplain.
Yeah, it's a perennial problem. Flooding is a problem, but also Division 1 North at this level tends to just get dominated by a team, and with them only being one to go up, there are two teams dominating it this season. Liverpool, Feds and Newcastle have only lost a game each, and then the difference is that Newcastle drew one, that Liverpool have won. So yeah, Liverpool's record 13 wins, no draws, 1 defeat, scored 38, conceded 8.
And then down at the bottom, you've got a team who've not won a single game all season.
Yeah, so it's a real bastard of a division to get up out of, which is one of the reasons why Leeds United have been in there for a long time. So could do with a route out.
That wraps up part 1 of the show. Villa and Norwich previews on the way in part 2. Find that one in your feed.
The Square Ball Podcast.